Hi guys! What are you up to today? Nothing? Well then, I got the thing for you. Let's dye some yarn. I am going to be dyeing a couple of skeins of alpaca this week. I got two 50-gram skeins. They're quite fluffy. They look bigger than 50 grams, but that's what they are. So we are going to be dyeing a couple of 50-gram skeins of alpaca, and I might be playing a little bit with some fluorescent dyes this week. Maybe. Let's see. First of all, we need to soak the yarn. So I've added zip ties to both skeins already. I'm using my reusable zip ties. Makes it easier to handle the skeins while soaking and rinsing and all that. So first I'm going to grab my citric acid. I'm adding about half a tablespoon of that. I double up, so I use citric acid both in the soaking tub and in the dye tub. You really don't need to do that. It's enough to do just one of them. And I've got 2 liters of cold water here. So I'm adding that in. I think that should be enough for 2 50-gram skeins. If not, I'll just add a little bit more water. And we're grabbing our skeins. Let me turn the tub so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm just adding it into the water. And I'm pushing it down because I want to make sure all the yarn gets completely soaked, so that we can start dyeing on it. There we go. I'm going to let that sit for at least half an hour to soak, and then we'll get ready to dye. Let's play with some yarn dyes, shall we? The yarn has been soaking for about an hour now, so it's absolutely properly wet. I have set up my dye tray here, my trusty old empty yogurt container with just clear cold water and a spoon that I can use to poke the yarn. Got some gloves in case I need that. My mask to protect my airways, very important. I've got some teaspoons. Always use separate spoons for your yarn dyes. And I've got 3 different dyes, and today we are going to work with Dharma acid dyes, and we are going for the fluorescent colors. So we are going to use Radioactive. We are going to use Fluorescent Lemon, and we are going to use Fluorescent Fuschia. I don't think I will be needing my measuring cup, because I think what we're going to do today is we are going to reuse the same water that we soaked the yarn in to dye in. So what I'm going to do first, let's rearrange things a little bit here. I'm using my small tray since we're only dyeing a little bit of yarn. Adding just a wee bit more of citric acid, even though there already is some in the water. And we're going to transfer the skeins. Just try to not make too much of a mess here. That's why I'm squeezing out the water, even though I'm going to use the same water to dye in. It's just easier to move them from one tray to another. There we go, and then I will just pour in that water. There we go. So, my plan for dyeing today is I am simply just going to use the teaspoons and just sprinkle a little bit of dye over the yarn, and we'll just let whatever happens happen. Time to play with some dyes. First off, put on your mask to protect your airways. And then I'm going to turn on the stove. I'm turning on the fan as well. Okay, let's start with the fluorescent lemon. Ooh, look at that color. So I'm just going to grab just a wee little bit and just see if we can sprinkle it a little bit here and there. Grabbing a little more. Okay. I don't want to go too hard in the beginning. I want to see what the dye actually does. We're going in with Radioactive, which is a green. And I'm just sprinkling that around as well. Just grabbing a little more when I feel that I need some more. And again, I'm using very small amounts to start with, until I see how powerful these dyes are. And the fuchsia, how about that color? I'm grabbing just a little bit. Oh, that one spread like wildfire. Just playing around with color like this is one of my favorite things. Just letting whatever happens, happen. Like so. And I'm going to just let it sit for a while and heat up. And we'll just see how it develops. Wow, that fuchsia is really powerful. Let's see if we can get some of the other dyes as well. Starting to heat up a little. I think I'm going to add in a little bit more of the green. I think the yellow is, we're kind of gonna have to settle for what is already, since the fuchsia is so powerful. Since it's lighter, it's kind of hard to add in more of that. There we go. I'm poking it again so the dye will dissolve, the dye powder. Kind of wants to run away a little. Okay. So I'm just going to let it sit and continue to heat up. And we'll see how much we'll be able to exhaust this color. Safe to say that the fuchsia absolutely dominated. There's still a lot of dye left also. The yarn has turned mostly orange now instead of pink, since it has blended with the yellow. It's an interesting color. I do like it, I have to say. And also good to know that you need to be light-handed, very light-handed, with the Fuschia because it spreads like wildfire. However, now the dye bath is all warm, so I'm going to set it aside and let it cool completely, and then we are going to rinse. Time to rinse, and wow, did this yarn take on a life of its own. The pink completely gone, the yellow completely gone. Instead we have this deep orange and the green, and it's become more of an autumnal look, which I'm actually not mad about. Oh, we got a little bit of pink in here, but overall an autumnal look, and I'm not mad about that. So I'm just squeezing out the water, putting it in the rinsing tub, which I've added some soak to. You don't need soak to when rinsing the yarn. I like to use it. You can use shampoo, you can use dish soap, whatever you got. If it works on your hair, it works on the yarn. If you do want to try soak, I do have the smaller bottles in the web shop. Let me just put that aside. Oh, sorry, hit the mic. Okay, I'm just going to rinse it. I have to say that it exhausted a lot more than I expected it to do. So there is not a lot of excess dye. I'm just squeezing the water out of the yarn, and of course the rinsing water is also cold. Now look at that. That is quite pretty. And I'm going to do the same to the other one. You can see there's a little bit of yellow in the water, but not a lot. So I'm just dunking the skein. And normally when using soak you only need to rinse once, but since I do have some residue here, and because I prefer to, I am going to rinse this once more. And again, not wringing it, but just squeezing out the water. Pretty. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to rinse it once more, and then we're going to hang it to dry. Well, how about that? I think it's safe to say we had quite the Bob Ross moment this week. This yarn was not what I was originally planning for. But I do love it. And in fact, it looks quite a lot like my Autumn Leaves colorway, which is good to know, because if I run out of the dyes for dyeing that colorway, I can use the ones I used in this video, I guess. The more you know. Yeah, very pleased with it. I love this autumny color, and like I said, it's a Bob Ross happy accident happening this week. I'm not sad about that. I am going to attempt to dye with the fluorescent dyes again, of course, and see if I can get something hot pink at least. But that's for a future project. For this week, quite happy with this, and I'm going to go plan what to make for this. Very excited. So pretty. Well, that's it for this week. I'll see you next time. Bye.
You got me feeling good, right by your side. Lost in every move, writing down your smile. Baby, hold me tight, let me trace your lines. Keep it low, cause you're dropping it down.